the US has been the organizer of the democracies for almost 100 years, if not more, right? Going back to coming in, making the decision to come into World War One, World War II, the post-Cold War order. I think that's something that we should be enormously proud of, because we are not forcing our allies and partners. We're creating a community of common interests, and people join because their interests and ours are aligned and their values and ours are aligned, which is a whole lot different than what went on in the Warsaw Pact and what's going on in the relationship between Russia and China now. But I will say to you, I think we all understand now that we took too deep a peace dividend when the Cold War ended. That we all hoped that everybody was moving in a democratic direction. We hoped that of China, that if we integrated them into the global system, that would make them more open. We certainly, and I was part of this in the 90s and the aught years, hoped that if we, turned the G7 into the G8, if we brought Russia closer to NATO in the NATO-Russia Founding Act, that we would create a um, broader zone of peace, and that every nation in between would get to live with sovereignty and dignity. Then comes along a guy like Vladimir Putin, who wants to turn back history and recreate the Soviet Union. And, no matter what opportunity you give countries, if you have a leader who is a dissatisfied actor in the system and is willing to take the kind of violent risks that Putin has taken rather than building his own country, this is what you're going to get. And we should have hedged against that, I think, more than we did. Listen, I've been a fan, and I think Tony Blinken's been a fan, Joe Biden's been a fan of as much European military strength as they're willing to pay for and build. And that way they can use it autonomously if they want to, if they're going on missions where we're not involved. But it becomes a benefit for all of us if we're on missions together, as we are now. So there's nothing to be feared for the United States from strategic autonomy per se, unless it's a fake autonomy or autonomy on the cheap, where they're not actually paying for the military muscle that we need. But what I want to say here is that Europe, and particularly the big powers of Europe, have stepped up in unprecedented ways to support Ukraine's security needs, its economic needs. But the notion that Germany would ever agree to commit lethal military equipment at all, let alone Leopard tanks, which are going to be essential in the spring, to Ukraine. If you had woken me up on February 23rd, 2022, and said, is this going to happen? I would have said, no way.